Hey guys, so I've got a little bit of a problem. The cover off of this came off sometime this winter, so I'm starting getting a little bit of a water leak inside. So I'm going to take a 3D print something to cover this up. But the thing is I look a little bit closer at it, it's getting cracked, so it's going to start leaking anyway. So I think I'm going to do is go ahead and redesign it. First, let's get down into it and see just how big it's going to be. So as I started prying around on it, I learned one thing really quick. The screw holes and everything that was holding it down broke out a long time ago. It was just the sealant holding it down. So I'm going to get this cleaned up, and in the meantime, while that's getting cleaned up and getting everything all set up, I'm going to take this out there, go into Tinkercad, and redesign it. So I'm going to go in here, try to redesign this thing. I'm trying a whole different way of recording this. I'm using the screen capture and everything. So let's get into this and try to see if we can figure out how to design this in Tinkercad. So this is the part I'm going to redesign. It used to have a fourth piece sticking up right here. Had a cap that clipped down over it. I don't necessarily have to go with that design. It's just a vent cap is all it is. So the first thing I got to do is get some measurements. So I'm going to turn on my device here and get a rough estimate. And right now, oh, that's sacrilege. That's inches. There we go. That should give us a pretty good indication. So we're right at 135 millimeters across on the base. This portion, 107, 108, doesn't matter. Up here, 64, I believe. Let's see, yeah, close enough, 64. And then the clips were at 64 as well. And the little bump outs from what's left of it appears to be about 68. Main thing is going to be the inside of this right here. You got to make sure it's big enough for the pipe, which is going to be 60.5 millimeters. So using those measurements, let's go into Tinkercad and see what we can do. Okay, so over here my favorite program to design everything I do, and that's Tinkercad. It's one of the easiest, just simplest way of doing it. First thing I want to do is I don't want to get everything complicated, so I'm just going to put down a roof cap. There we go. So first thing I'm going to do is we're going to start out with the cylinder. We're going to drop it over here. We're going to take this cylinder, we're going to give it all the sides so it's nice and round instead of having little beveled edges or little edges all over it. So across the base we're going to do it at 134 and 134. By rights I can make it 135, it would not matter. We're going to take this and we're going to narrow it down. Oh, wrong one. Just put that back to 0. We're going to take this one, we're going to drop it down. We're going to need it to be maybe 3 millimeters tall. As far as the thickness, I could actually go less than that. Let's go 2 millimeters. I have a trick I'm going to pull on this, and hopefully that'll make it a little bit more, last a little bit longer in the weather. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to add the center section. Now the center section is going to have a slight bevel at the top of it, so we have a way we can take care of that. What we're going to do is we're going to take this cylinder here, drag it over. Now for that part of it, for the outside, we want it to be 108 millimeters. So once again, we're going to increase our sides to make it smooth. 108. Change that to 108. We're going to bring that over. We're going to set that somewhere in the middle. Does not matter at this point. Right now, I didn't measure the height of it, but let's go ahead and measure the height. Right now I'm sitting at 35 millimeters tall. So we'll take that, 35, and then, actually we got to remember we've got 3 millimeters, was it, on thickness? 2 millimeters. So by rights, we need that to be 37. Nah, that's right, 35. What am I thinking? It does not matter because I'm measuring it from the base of it anyway. There we go, 35 millimeters. Now, I want to give this a little bit of a dome. So I can either add another part in here, or I can just select on that. I believe if I do bevel, I can create a dome. Now by doing that, you can see this little blue line here means I'm no longer where I'm supposed to be on that. So because of that, I am going to go 37 millimeters, and then I'm going to drop this down a couple of millimeters. Later on, I'm going to put something underneath here to completely flatten it. But that gives it a little bit of bevel. It's probably not enough. I don't know. Let's find out whenever I put my other piece on there, which is supposed to be 64 millimeters. So I'm going to take another cylinder. This one, well, first let's go ahead and do our sides. 64, 64. Once again, this is all millimeters. From bottom to top, 66 millimeters tall. So I'm going to take this, 66 millimeters, I'm going to bring that over here into the center. That's actually not bad. Now what we're going to do is we're going to line everything up. Now at this point, I've got a wedding cake. That's not what I want. I don't want a wedding cake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and hollow this thing out. Now for the inside of the top portion of it, it's about 60 millimeters. So I'm going to take a hollow cylinder. I'm going to once again round off all the sides. Let's do it 60, let's just go 61 and see what that looks like. 61, make it tall, we're going to stick it in the middle. Now once I center this, you can see how my sides here are a little bit thin. So if I want to, I can actually take those and I can fix this by going 65, 65. Now when I recenter everything, I am now setting with a little bit thicker walls there. So that's all I need for that. And then I can take this, drop it down a little bit so it goes underneath, and now it's sticking out the bottom of the build plate. The build volume, or however you want to say it. Not the build plate, but on this is the work plane, I guess you call it. So the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead bigger. Why, I really don't know, because technically it's going to slide over the pipe, but for intents and purposes, we're just going to go ahead and do that. So this piece was what? 108. So we're going to double check the measurement inside this one, and this one on the inside is 104. So 104 and 104. We're going to take that over here. This is where I'm just going to take this and eyeball it. We're going to bring it about there, drop it down a little bit, remembering that we got to make sure we're completely through, that we're punching a hole all the way through this thing. That looks good to me. We're going to take and align everything, and by aligning everything, it puts it exactly where we want it. Now when we look in there, there we are. Now if we want to see how much area there is between them, we can actually turn this outside hollow. See this width right here? That's our thickness of that material, which to me is just fine. As you can see, there's going to be more material under here. Now what I can do is I can take that piece and I can bevel it. And by beveling it, it's going to give it the same taper on the inside, which means now I'm going to just extend this back up to give it somewhat the same thickness. It's going to be a little bit thicker than the sides, which is fine. I like that. That looks sweet to me. Okay, so I'm just going to click this outside because once again the hole's on the inside, which I got to make sure I'm all the way through, which I shouldn't be. Am I? That's easy enough to fix. I can change that to 39. Nope, wrong one. When in doubt, just go back. Click down here. That will give me that one, so I can go 39. See how it went up? I just want to bring it back down. Give myself about the same amount there. Should be good with that thickness. It's going to be a nice thick part. PLA doesn't last very long in weather from what I understand, but I got a trick up my sleeve I'm going to try on this. Okay, so with that set, I can click this outside one, turn it back into a solid. I've got my hole right there. I'm all good on that. All I need to do now is take a box. We're going to take this box and we're going to extend it out pretty big. Doesn't really matter. All this is going to do is set below my build plane so that it creates a flat surface. So that way when I bring it into my slicer, it's not going to think it's some special thing. I just want to make sure it's at 0, so it's at the bottom of the part. So right now I'm just going to take all this and I'm going to join it. Group it. So now you can see what I'm fixing here. That's somewhat like what I've got. And top to bottom 66 millimeters. Now what I don't have yet are the tabs right here. So now let's go ahead and play with the tabs. Okay, so the next thing is we want to go ahead and make the tabs, but I'm starting to have my doubts about whether I can do it. And since I really don't need tabs, all I need is just the cap to fit on this thing. But I just need it so it can get air. Let's just go ahead and make the cap. Just push this off over here to the side. Let's go ahead and make a cap that'll fit this thing. And since I don't have a cap to go by, we're just going to go ahead and just go by whatever we think is going to be alright. I'm going to go ahead and give it a taper, a bevel. And so the outside of the whole thing was... my thing's turned off. Let me turn them back on. I believe this is 108. Yeah, this is 108. So let's go ahead and do 108 by 108. It's probably a little bit too big by rights. Yeah, it is too big. Let's narrow that down. Let's go 100. Not that that's going to be tremendously smaller. I just want to see how it looks on here. Okay. At one time that's probably what it looked like. Something like that. So let's bring that back down to 0. Oh, come on. There, bring it back down to the build plate. There we go. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to make this a little bit taller. I'm going to make it about 30 millimeters tall. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to put a hole in this thing. It's going to be slightly bigger than the 64 millimeters. So we're actually going to make that hole come on, there we go. We're going to make it 70 millimeters by 70. We may end up making it bigger than that. Oh yeah, let's go ahead and bevel that thing. Just for, yeah, it doesn't need to be that, it does not need to be like that. What was this one? This one was 100, so let's make that one 95 and 95. And then we're going to group or align it. Let's turn that into a hole, see where we're at. Let's going to be a nice heavy duty cap right there. Okay, that's doable. I like that. So let's go ahead and turn that back into a solid. Oh, wrong piece got turned into the solid. That would be bad. Hole. Uh-oh. Oh no. That's easy fixed. To click the outside, bring it up, touch that part, turn it into a hole. Take that, bring it back down. Now that's the inside I'm taking down. Back down to 0. Click the outside, bring it back down to 0. Nope. Just want to do that part. Make sure that we're even, which we are because everything's grayed out. Turn the outside back into a solid. What in the world's going on here? Why is it doing that? You're a hole. You're a solid. Go back home. There. Now you can be happy. So we're going to go ahead and take this. Go ahead and group it really quick. We're going to drop that down even with the build. Let's see. Let's take it down a little bit further. There. That'll work because I want to go ahead and flatten that bottom on it. Ever have one of those days? There, I think that worked. There. That looks like it's even. So now we'll go ahead and group. Now we're nice and flat. That will work. Okay. So now I've got a cap. I've got this piece here, but now I need to make sure that the cap is high enough so that it can get air. So I'm just going to center those pieces there, and now we're going to work on making the cap. Actually, it might be better if I just do it this way, so you can see how much air. When you look right here, you see this nice clear gap right here. That's how much air gap there is between it and that, and you can see where it is compared to the top. By rights, I can bring this down just a hair further. I honestly don't know why I need to, except to keep water. I had to do to keep water out of my house. Anyway, you get the gist of it. So now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and create something in here to make sure it stays in the position, because I'm not going to use those tabs. So what I'm going to go do is going to take a box. We're going to make this box nice and thin, like 4 millimeters, and we're going to extend it out. And I'm going to figure out a way of bringing it up in here and across. Nope, wrong thing. Yeah. When in doubt, just use the line buttons. It's so much easier. So the question is, do I stick out past? Which actually I don't, surprisingly. I don't know how that happened. So if I do it that way, it actually will work. Well, that's strange that worked on the first try. Let's actually go ahead and bring it up a little bit. We're actually even with that. don't really need to do it like this. Actually, no, I don't want to do it like this, do I? That might actually be sweet, though, watching it on time lapse. I think I will do it like that. And then I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to rotate it. Oh. Let's go back. Let's click that. Copy. Oh yeah, I forgot to paste. Why did I paste there? That's stupid. Ah, that's weird. Okay, fine. Line there and there. Okay. I'm going to take one of these, I don't know which one it is, and we're going to go 90 degrees. That gives me enough air getting in there, no problem at all. With it down at the edge of this, when it prints, I honestly don't know. But you know what I can do is I can just leave it like that and print it upside down. I do have a taper here that might work. I don't have a taper there. I wonder if I could have tapered that. I don't know. I do know this much on this. I've got those way too thick. Those only need to be 2 millimeter. There we go, nice and thin. Make sure everything's aligned. That looks stinking sweet. That may just work. So I raise that up a little bit more. It's just going to touch, so that way when it starts bridging, starts doing it around there, it should touch on the top of those. That'll be sweet. Cool. Okay guys, I'm going to go ahead and download this monstrosity. Oh no, no! Align, align, align now. Group. Now I've got a part that's 85 centimeters tall, or millimeters tall. Yes. Okay. I like it. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. I'll see you guys at the end of the time lapse. Full disclosure, this is not the actual print. This was the one previous to the final version of it. Messed up on the support settings on this, but that's the only footage I have because my other footage got corrupted during the print. Sorry about that, guys. So I'll see you at the end of it. Okay, so hopefully this is the fourth and last one. So I started out with this one. I didn't do it with supports. It failed pretty bad, so I ended that print. Then I decided to print upside down, do it with supports, and I don't know what cure I did, but that made the support so beefy I couldn't remove it. Then I tried it again, and this one, once again, the supports just had this extra wall to it. I don't understand that. So I went back into Cura, and I think I got it fixed. I went with zigzag supports. I went with where it connects it, which I think that's where that outer wall came from. There, my goodness. So, okay, that support's removing a whole lot easier. Okay, see if I can remove this support without damaging the print. Okay, I got the rest of the support material pulled out. I'm just going to run this around it to cut off the little strings. Once again, my main thing is just make sure it doesn't get rained down to where it can get through the roof. Want it to look somewhat like the original, but doesn't have to be exact. There we go. Got all the strings out of it. There we go. So now, didn't do the greatest job of bridging over the support there. It's a little bit nasty looking, but that's alright. Outside of it, you can see wasn't the greatest. I need to play with the retraction settings a little bit more, but for what I need, this is going to work just right. So my next job, oh yeah, and by the way, this is how it stacks up against the original. If this had the cap on it, it would have been about the same height. So size-wise, I think we're going to be good. Okay, so now the next thing we'll do, I'm going to take it out, hit it with some of this Flex Seal. That way it'll make it weatherproof, hopefully make it last a few years. And I think we should be good. So let's go out there and give it a quick spray. So in the meantime, I've went ahead and I've cleaned this off. I got it all peeled off and wire brushed it down to the bare metal. And in the RV and mobile home world, they like using this stuff. So I got all that scraped off of it and all the tar or whatever else was around it. So now let's go ahead and see if we can seal it off. I'm not going to reuse the screws. I'm not going to screw it down. I'm actually going to use an adhesive / silicone to seal it. I think that way it'll just glue it down and should seal it up for good. So this is what I'm going to use today. It's going to be the DynaFlex Ultra. It's going to be a black color. Actually looks more gray than anything. Anyway, I'm going to take it, I'm going to put some on here. I'm going to stick it around there. Actually, let's see, make sure our ring actually fits over everything here. So I've miscalculated one little thing, and that's this pipe comes up there and hits that little cross section right there. So actually there's a way I can fix that. Let me fix it really quick here because this pipe is not even anyway, so I'm just going to kind of slice it off a little bit. There we go. And then now this will fit right down. No problem at all. So let's go ahead and get the sealant on it. Let's see how it does. And from what I can tell, all the the screw holes are all covered up. Nice. Okay, let's get the sealant on it. I know that's probably not the best way of doing it, but let's see how it works. I'm just going to take this, set her over. Beautiful. Squish it down really good, let it settle back in place, and then I'll put another bead around it. Actually, probably just take it Bring it right around it. I'll probably put another bead around it after it dries. But yeah, that's gonna do the trick really nice. Cool. Anyway guys, there it is. It's looking good. I don't see any problems with it. If you're interested in seeing how it holds up, hit me up in the comments below. Let me know if you'd be interested in a video saying about 6 or 8 months and just see how it held up during the summertime. If it holds up this summer, I think it'll be just fine. If I start seeing any deforming or anything that way, I might hit it with a little bit more of the Flex Seal. But this is just one coat of Flex Seal, just merely to seal it up. Anyway, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and take care. Bye.